Welcome back. Today we're going to examine solving formulas for specified variables. So what is a formula? A formula is a mathematical relationship or rule expressed in symbols. Here are some examples of some common formulas that you guys should have seen before. Y equals mx plus b. We will be learning about this in the next chapter. Actually, this chapter, I believe. And P equals 2L plus 2W, where P stands for the perimeter. L and W is length and width. And then the area of a rectangle, A is equal to length times the width. All right, example 1. Solve the equation or formula for the specified variable. As this equation is written now, this equation is solved for M. How do I know it's solved for M? Because M is isolated. It wants us to solve for B. So what we want to do is we want to isolate the B variable. We want to get B by itself on either the left side or the right side of the equation. But some people have trouble starting these. So there's a little trick you can do. If the letters confuse you, let's just replace the letters that we're not trying to solve for with numbers. So we're trying to solve for B. Our goal is to get the B variable by itself. Okay? So let's say M is 10. You can say any values. It's just going to help us start. We're trying to solve for B, so we'll leave B in the problem. But let's call N 7. Okay? So this equation in blue might be easier for you to solve. How would we solve this equation in blue? What would the first step be? Well, we would add 7 to both sides, right? And then we get 17 is equal to 2b. Next, we would divide both sides by 2. And then the final answer is b is equal to 17 over 2. Or if you want to write that as a decimal, that's 8.5. So this blue equation took 2 steps. That's how many steps it would take to solve this formula for B if we left M and N in it. So let's try it. Let's try using the variables here. We got M is equal to 2B minus N. What did we do first on the blue equation? We added 7 to both sides. Well, what was the 7? We said N was 7. So what we're going to do here is we're going to add N to both sides. Negative N plus N cancels out. So on this side, we just got 2B. And then over here, when you add N to M, you get M plus, you get M plus N. You can't add those two variables together because they're not like variables. So you just leave them like that. Okay, now what did we do on the blue equation? The second thing we did was divide by 2. So over here, we're going to divide both sides by 2. I'm going to divide this whole right side by 2, and then I'm going to divide the whole left side by 2. So I'm dividing both the M and the N by 2. Okay, the 2's over here cancels out. So here's our answer. B is equal to M plus N, that whole thing divided by 2. Or if I wanted to, I could have wrote it out like this too. This is the same answer. M divided by 2 plus N divided by 2. Either one is correct. All right, let's try another one. Example 2. Solve the equation or formula for a specified variable. So here is our equation. Q over R plus 7x is equal to 19. Again, if you're having a difficult time at starting these, if the variables confuse you, replace the variables with numbers. So what variable am I trying to solve for? Q. So leave Q alone. But let's get rid of the other variables. So let's say R is 2. So let's just plug 2 in for R. Let's say X is 3. So this would be 7 times 3, which is 21, equals 19. Okay, use the equation on the right side, the blue equation, to help you get started on the green equation. So what will we do first on the blue equation? Subtract 21. Okay. And then we get Q over 2 is equal to 19 minus 21, negative 2. All right, so what was 21 in relation to the green equation? Well, that's the 7x. So what we need to do is subtract 7x from both sides. Now we got Q over R is equal to 19 minus 7x. You can't take 7x away from 19, so just leave them separate like that. All right, now let's examine the blue equation. What are we going to do to solve for Q on the blue equation? Well, we got Q divided by 2, so we're going to multiply both sides by 2. So our final answer, Q is equal to negative 4. Okay? So what are we going to do on the green equation? Well, we got Q divided by R. So what we got to do is got to multiply both sides by R. Try to multiply this whole right-hand side by R. I'm taking this whole left side multiplied by R. So it's like R over 1 times Q over R. The R's cancel out, and we just get Q. And then I got to take R times this. So I'm going to have to use the distributive property. So 19 times R is 19R. And then R times negative 7x would be negative 7xR. So there's my answer. Q is equal to 19R minus 7xR. All right, let's try another one here. We have 5x minus 2y is equal to 10. It says solve for y. So we're trying to get y by itself. So again, if you don't know how to start it, just replace the variables that you're not trying to solve for variables and then solve it from there. But eventually I would like for you to be able to not do that step. But if you have to do that step, that's fine. So what's going to be our first step here? Well, we're going to get rid of the 5x. So we're going to have to subtract 5x from both sides. So we end up with negative 2y is equal to 10 minus 5x. Then I'm going to have to divide both sides by negative 2. The negative 2 divided by negative 2 is y. And instead of putting the whole thing over negative 2, I can put both of them over negative 2. So what is 10 divided by negative 2? Negative 5. And then you get a negative 5 divided by a negative 2. A negative divided by a negative becomes a positive. You can leave it as a fraction, or you can leave it as a decimal, since 2 doesn't go to 5 anymore. I'm just going to leave it as a fraction. So here is my solution. Okay, this should remind you of that thing that we learned about last year. Y equals mx plus b. Okay, so what I like to do when I have an equation involving y and x, and I'm solving for y, I just like to rewrite it so it's in that form. I just like to have the x first. You don't have to do this. Okay, either one of these is correct. But one more example here. Example 4, solve the equation or formula for the specified variable. This is the perimeter formula. P, the perimeter is equal to 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. We want to solve for W. We're trying to get W by itself. So I'm going to subtract 2L from both sides. So we got P minus 2L is equal to 2W. And now I'm going to divide both sides by 2. So my answer is W is equal to P minus 2L divided by 2. I could leave it like that, or if I wanted to, I could separate it like I did on the last problem. I could just divide both of these by 2. If I did it that way, I still get W, but then I have this part, P over 2, which can't be reduced, minus, well, these two 2's here cancel out, so minus L. So either one of these is the correct solution.